Hi, everyone. Happy Tuesday to you. We are doing it this week. We're already to Tuesday. It's rolling right along, and I know it's rough today. I'm feeling it. I'm sure you're feeling it as well after a holiday weekend. But anyway, I want to get right to it. It's region weather meteorologist Matt Wintz. Nice to meet you if we haven't met before. Those that are early birds here want to say hello to you. Mary, able to sneak out for lunch to enjoy a region weather broadcast. Boy, would you have it any other way, Mary? Appreciate you spending your time with us for sure. Ethan just got back from Mexico. He experienced Summer Barrel as it went into the Yucatan, said it was insane. Hi, Mark. Jeff's with us. Stacy, you're absolutely welcome. I appreciate you joining us on our YouTube channel. Mary, thanks for catching us. I appreciate that. Lynn, no problem. You're just in time. Heather's been waiting for this. Heather, don't get your hopes up. I'm just kidding. It'll be great. Junie's with us as well. And Kelly, hello to you. Well, I appreciate you guys spending some of your Tuesday with me to chat weather. So I'm going to dive right in, guys, real quick. Our sponsors that you see off to the side of the screen there, make sure you support them if you can. If you need someone to build a barn or you're looking for structure build, FBI Buildings is for you. If you need help around the world of Medicare, life insurance, Medicaid, Minogue.life is the website to go. PSA, those are public service adjusters. It's publicserviceadjusting.com. They will handle any insurance claim and do everything for you and get you more money. It's awesome. Ewing MECH, that's for our HVAC folks here in Northwest Indiana. They have great specials on ACs right now, whether you need a cleaning, tune-up, or a new one. TigerPlumbing.net for area plumbers. If you have a sump pump that's not working with this rain moving in, TigerPlumbing.net is the place to go. They have a great website. You describe the problem. You can even take pictures of it. They're your plumbers that you're going to need here in Northwest Indiana. Grieger's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Valparaiso. All right, let's dive into what we've got going on. We've already had some heavy rain. And that heavy rain that set up was kind of out ahead of it. So real interesting setup right now. Here's Barrel. Tropical depression down towards areas of Missouri. That's where the center circulation is coming out of Arkansas. This system has been loaded with moisture on the north side the entirety of the system, especially since it came into Texas. But all the moisture is on the north side. So it matters where that center of circulation tracks, okay? But where the center is doesn't really mean anything because all the moisture is on the north side. So if you're on the north side of the center of the circulation, which is where we're going to be, you're going to get rain pretty much the entire time. Whereas this system is passing by, like, let's say Memphis, for example, and Memphis just had a shower, and that's about it. The whole entire eastern side of this, there's a severe weather threat with it, but there's not a lot of rainfall with it, okay? All the rainfall's on the north side of this. This is very reminiscent to me of a winter storm and it's not, but it kind of is, where we're forecasting snowfall totals and all the snow's on the northern side of that low, right? This is kind of what happens with that. But it's a little bit different because it's tropical. All right. So the reason why we had the heavy rain here this morning, and it's a little bit more concerning to me that we had that because that's already put down. Not all of us saw that heavy rain, but especially Southern Lake, Porter, Northern Newton, and Jasper counties over the last couple hours. You got a real good downpour, and we've seen some areas that are over an inch of rain already soaking into our ground. All right. The rest of us just had some showers from it, lesser amounts outside of that, but we've had localized amounts over an inch already. All right. Reason why that developed, and you see it continues to develop in areas just east of LaPorte and then up into Berrien County, Michigan. You see that little band that's developed? That's the frontal boundary that was trying to sag south. Remember, that front itself would be enough to kickstart some storms. That's what we've seen the last 2 days is that front has ignited some afternoon storms. So we already had a front in place that was going to produce some storms anyway. And now we've got this huge envelope of tropical moisture coming in. It's butting up against that front, and all of it's producing uplift kind of in a line where that front is. So that's kind of an additional bonus rain that we're getting out ahead of the storm system. Here's the meat and potatoes down here, now moving into southern Illinois. We've got heavier rain pushing into Indianapolis right now. That's the wave that's going to kind of spiral its way through Northwest Indiana as we get into the afternoon, that evening rush hour, per our post this morning, saying that evening rush hour is going to be much different. We'll likely have a good soaking rain going then, and then that will continue into the evening hours, all right? Our severe weather threat's very low with this. I had a couple of messages coming in this morning. Actually, everyone must have been thinking the same thing. Because there is some social media buzz about a tornado and severe weather threat with this system. That's on the leading edge. It's not huge, but remember, tropical systems have shear on their own. So they're already producing some spin in the atmosphere. So it doesn't take much to really get things going in terms of quick tornado spin ups. And we've seen that, especially in Texas, but we've even seen that in Arkansas, Missouri, and we've had a few tornado warnings down in Kentucky and Tennessee from this. But that's where your severe weather component is out ahead of it. We will not get into that. We're just going to get into the solid rain, really, that goes through the rest of the day today into the evening hours and the early hours overnight tonight before it clears out. All right. So this is the heavier part right here. We had the heavy rain around earlier. We're starting to see it lessen up a little bit. It's just a general light to at times moderate rain for most of us right now. The heavier rain has pushed off towards the north. I think that heavier band with the frontal boundary will stay off towards the north, but doing some radar analysis, this chunk coming in right here, there's a lot of lift in the atmosphere here. That will curl in here in about 2.5, 3 hours or so. So we're talking, it's about 1 o'clock now. So we're talking 3, 4, 5, 6 o'clock. We'll really see that rain ramp up, and we'll likely have it holding for quite some time through that evening rush hour. Okay. So let's go through the modeling on this. Models have a pretty good handle on this in terms of how it's going to evolve as we go throughout the rest of the afternoon here. Here's our rain right now. Notice how this heavier band of rain gets in here. This one's a little bit later in terms of timing on it. It's saying, a little bit like 6, 7 o'clock. I could see it getting here a little bit earlier, but you notice the trend of this, right? We go from the light rain that we have right now to more of a solid, steady, moderate to at times heavy rain. All right. That continues throughout the evening. Here's the overnight now. This is about 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Here's your morning rush hour tomorrow. Still dealing with the backside of it. Rain is still coming down. It'll be a little bit more broken at that point, but we'll still have some decent rain falling. And then as we get into the daytime tomorrow, we'll see a general clearing, but it's going to take its time getting out of here. We'll likely have that band kind of lingering through at least midday. Once we get into afternoon, we should see it head out of here. And then there's another little pocket of moisture that showed up in the model in the last couple of days with another little disturbance kind of swinging along that low. That may bring a additional pop-up shower or so. Most of that looks to stay west of us as we go throughout the evening tomorrow into tomorrow night, okay? So we've got a pretty long time of some decent soaking rain around here. And I want to show you precip totals, and then we'll talk flooding. So here's your precipitation forecast, okay? This is a decent axis of rain that has continued to show up in the modeling. So at this point, it's pretty locked in that we're going to get a solid 2 to 4 inches across the region. All right. The HRRR model has lesser amounts in areas of Lake County. It's got anywhere from 1 inch to 1.5 inches. It picks up in intensity as you get into especially Newton and Jasper County, some of the areas that have already seen that heavy rain, and then it really ramps up over towards South Bend. This axis could change a little bit. All right. I don't want us to get locked in on this solution because we could certainly see this change. And I think I don't think it'll be quite as steady as that. I think it'll be a little bit more pockety with some of the 4 or 5 inch totals, but we could be dealing with, 2 to 4 inches, I think ought to do it for most of us. We could have some higher totals than that, especially some of the spots that have already seen over 1 inch of rain already this morning into the midday hours. Okay. So that's the HRRR model. I do want to show you the NAM-NEST. It's slightly different, but it's got a pretty similar scenario. Notice how the NAM-NEST is just ever so slightly, we're talking 10 miles difference, but that makes a big difference depending on where you live. It's ever so slightly northwest with that track, and it's got some really heavy amounts here. NAM-NEST tends to overdo things. NAM-NEST tends to show winter storms that produce 30, 40 inches of snow. We get a foot. But either way, some of these totals we have to consider. It's saying anywhere from 6, 7, maybe even 8 inches in spots, depending on where that rain evolves. And I'll show you what it kind of does with the rain. Notice how it develops just this heavy, persistent band across the region that lasts all the way through the morning tomorrow. Okay. So that's kind of what we're dealing with in terms of wind. I do want to cover that. I've got some questions around that. The wind isn't going to get too crazy, but it is going to get breezy. There's still an envelope of wind with this system. And you can see we've got gusts over 30 at times. This in particular model is saying maybe gusts to 40 at times. This is going to become a pretty strong extratropical low. You can see the HRRR. I'm more in line with this with gusts over 30 at times as we get into the daytime especially the afternoon today, and then tonight and tomorrow as that low circulates through. That's when the windiest period is expected to be. So it's going to get pretty breezy with this. We have to be concerned with power outages just because we're going to have a good soaking rain, and it's going to start to loosen up some of those tree roots, right? And that poses a risk of some of them, blowing around and perhaps landing on power lines. I don't think it's going to be a catastrophic situation where they're just falling everywhere, but we do have to be wary of that because we are going to have a lot of moisture in the ground from all this soaking rain. It is going to loosen up some of the tree roots, and some of those that have been blown around in a while that perhaps had some weak structure to them could certainly, we could see some limbs down and maybe a couple trees down as well. Okay. So that's what we've got going on weather-wise with the wind. One more thing I want to cover is the dew points because it's real thick outside right now. This whole system, as it curls through, will take this real thick humid air. That's what that is right there. It'll take it out of here. We'll bring in slightly drier air. It won't be quite as humid tomorrow, but we'll still be dealing with pretty decent humidity around here really until Thursday when it backs off a little bit, okay? All right, so that's what I've got weather-wise. The only other thing I want to cover is there's something called flash flood guidance, so we can actually tell how much rain the ground can take before it floods, all right? And our flash flood guidance is pretty high because it's been fairly dry. So our ground can take anywhere from 1.5 inches to about 3 inches of rain over a 3 to 6 hour period and not flood. It's got to be spread out, though. And the problem is this rain isn't going to be spread out. Some of the rainfall rates with this, because these are tropical rains that are going to be moving in, which are different than normal rains. They just are. From my experience of going through tropical storms, I live down in Georgia. We got hit with a couple storms down there of tropical entity. And the rain is just different. It's just heavier within them. The radar doesn't look any different, but you get in it and there's like more water droplets. It's just heavier. So some of these rainfall rates are going to be impressive. And we could see at times the rainfall over 1 inch an hour. All right. So you compound that with the fact we might be getting rain for 6, 8, 10 hours. It's not going to fall at 1 inch an hour that whole time, but it's going to add up, and rivers and creeks are going to get a little swollen around here. The other fact is that it has been fairly dry, so that ground isn't really good at soaking in moisture initially. A lot of that will sit, and if you have a ground that's had rain over the last few weeks, the rain will fall and it soaks into the ground pretty easy because it's kind of wet all the way down, right? But in terms of right now, we've got a really dry mid and even surface across the region. I know it's raining right now, but I'm saying going into this event. So as that rain falls, it's taken its time soaking in. If you've ever, had a real dry ground and then you put a hose on it, the water kind of pools there for a little bit before it soaks in. That's kind of where we are right now in terms of all the levels of our soil. So that's kind of a concern that, maybe we are exacerbating the flooding a little bit because we have had dry ground over the recent weeks. Okay. So that's what we're dealing with. So in terms of things you can do, again, just make sure your sump pump is good to go. All right. Remember, sump pump takes water from around the foundation of your house where water tends to go, and it pumps it out. All right. It gets it out of there so you don't have water surrounding your foundation and eventually getting in if you have leaks or cracks. So sump pump needs to be in good working order. We need to make sure drains are clear, gutters, make sure they're good to go as well. I mean, we're getting to the point where it's too late, but those are just some things you can do to make, this go a little bit easier. Storm sewers, make sure they're clear as well if you have any drains on your property, okay? This isn't going to be apocalypse, but this is a real good dose of rain that's coming in here, especially as we get into the afternoon, the evening rush hour, okay? All right, let's see. And I see a couple of reminders in there about the sump pumps. Thank you, David, for that. If you guys have any questions, go ahead, throw them in the chat now. That's the whole point of this, is to answer questions and get you on your way. But other than that, that's all the information I have. Rain will pick up again this afternoon. It's fairly light right now. It'll pick up. Okay, so let's see what we got here. I'm back in time. You're welcome, everybody. I see a lot of thank yous. Some sprinkles, some light rain. Dee says, my niece is attending the Cubs game tonight. Good luck. The thing about Chicago, they're going to be on the edge of this rain. So there's going to be a really sharp cutoff with where they don't get rain and where they do. So I do think Wrigley is going to get some rain, though. So there's that. Russ says, please go out, clean your sewer grates now and throughout the storm. Russ, great idea. Sometimes, from mowing lawn and doing stuff like that, we get grass debris in there, grass clippings, some leaves, branches, stuff like that, especially as this wind picks up, could get in there. So great advice, Russ. Faith asks a good question. She says, time for shareable for the bad part. So it will get heavier probably 3-4 hours from now, Faith, in terms of that rain coming in. So that evening rush hour, I'm looking at a pretty solid rain around here that will continue through the evening hours. So just heavy rain, and it's going to be persistent. That's what's bad about this. Chris, you're welcome for sure. Heather, yeah, I hope so too. I hope that works as well. All right, I don't see any other questions coming in. That's good news. So hopefully I did my job of explaining it. So that's where we're going to go the rest of the afternoon. We're going to be watching this rain move in, folks. If you're driving, just take extra time. We're going to have some ponding of water on roadways. And I think that will turn into some flooding in spots. So just make sure you're taking it easy out on the roads, okay? Remember, turn around, don't drown. That's what National Weather Service says. If you see any flowing water out ahead of you and it's deep, please don't drive in it. There's always video of this stuff. So please don't do that, okay? All right, I think that's it. You guys have a wonderful day today. We'll get through it. I'll continue to keep you updated on regionweather.com and on our Facebook page. Get back to work, okay?